Hello, everybody. I have been really enjoying these conversations that we have having through the last couple of months with different people that mean a lot in my life. And we have been through people that I met in my time in Coke. And also today we are going to go through somebody that I met in my times working with ESOMAR and learning with the ESOMAR, which is Michelle. So I'm also, this for me is a very special day because it's the day that I'm going to send the interviews to Michelle, and she will continue helping to find spaces to better understand how the brands can connect through all her friends and the people he really has enjoyed learning with. Also, we are moving continent. We have been in the European continent. Now, for the next couple of months, we're going to move to the American continent. So I think there's going to be a lot of variety, and we are going to really enjoy it together. So welcome, Michelle. How are you?
Thanks, Begonia. Great. And I'm very excited to take over the Brands Connect from you. And thank you for your vision and your leadership on this. I think it's been a fun project, and I'm excited because although it's moving to America, I have a global cast of folks I'll be interviewing from Europe, Asia, and the US.
Oh, that's brilliant that you're adding Asia, because I managed to add a little bit of America. We went through Switzerland and Italy, but nobody from Asia. So, I really love Asia. It's my favorite continent. So it's great. You always
Yeah.
help surprising me, Michelle. That's what I really enjoy of both of us. The way we really try together to change things and to see realities from different perspectives. And even if we both are working in MCGs, and we are also working on making the people happy with Mars or with Coca-Cola, we are very passionate of understanding much better the insights and how to continue growing and learning. So me with my English accent, well, by the way, she speaks pretty good Spanish. So I hope through the interview I will get her to say something in Spanish as well. So it's not only me feeling embarrassed with the accent. So be prepared for that as well.
Gracias.
You see, mucho mejor que mi inglés, much better than my English. So today we were trying to have a conversation and to speak about the things that we have been discussing in the different SOMAR events and in the different situations where we have been stuck in, which is about trying to understand how the insights function is perceived today. So what do you think? How is perceived? How will you summarize our conversations about it?
Well, I can only speak for my experience at Mars and at large FMCG companies, so I would be curious to hear your thoughts also. But I feel like over the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years, that the insights function has started to lose some credibility and relevance because of the fact that data is getting cheaper. You can find insights pretty much anywhere. And so it became less of a, we go to this department to learn insights, to everyone felt like that they could generate their own insights. And so before COVID, I started to really rally our function that we needed to start thinking differently if we wanted to continue to be relevant in the future. But what's interesting is that I think COVID has helped insights everywhere in the world to remind the company why we matter and why we uniquely provide something that other functions can't provide. So I think honestly, COVID has been a blessing for the insights industry. What do you think?
I fully agree. I think when the things it's very easy to provide insights when there is no a challenging and when it is an ongoing. In the moment there is a challenging, the people in Spanish we will say, if you are trying to try things, you try it with things that are not dangerous. You will never use dangerous things when you are trying something. So it's the same I think has happened with the insights, is where we really have to prove this is an insight. And I think the main problem in the industry that I'm observing is that there is no difference between data, learning, and insight. People tend to call data insight. So, and that's one thing we have been fighting against a lot.
Yeah, I agree. And the interesting thing is data can say the what, but you still need to have curiosity, human understanding, and business understanding to explain the why. And often people who have access to the data can't do that, don't understand humans, don't understand the business context. And there's where we provide unique benefit, is connecting the three things together: the data with the humans, with the business, all to have an actual real insight that matters for the business.
Agree, and I think also with the data and the movement of the insights lately, we are very focused on outside. So we are very focused on what they are doing, and we treat them a kind of like, not robots, but we forget that at the end, in the case of Coca-Cola, somebody has to drink a Coke, to pee a Coke, and then they can drink another Coke. And we just focus on the drinking, and we forget all which is within my own body that is affecting. So something like, imagine the COVID affecting the freedom of the teens, and we were speaking about that. This generation is going to have less opportunity to explore physically because they are kept in key years. And we can say COVID is going to be 1 year, 1 year and a half, but in a life for a teen, 1 year and a half is one third of the teens. So those things come from the psychology and comes from the inside. It doesn't come from data.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you saw Gabriella McCoy's presentation at ESMR, but she talked a lot about the need to get beyond the consumer in the context of our categories to understanding humans holistically. And that's something we've been thinking a lot about at Mars, that, like you said, it's not just about the person that buys the Coke to drink the Coke. It's everything in the context of their life and how they grew up, and all of that makes a difference for how they connect with brands, the choices that they make, the places that they shop. So I feel like there's also been this movement to really understand humans more broadly, which I think is a positive progress in the industry.
I agree, and I think the problem is our own selves has sometimes sell the data to prove the insights, and then we are kept in our own conversation, at least within the company, So they look for a number. They don't look for an insight.
Yeah, I agree.
So if that's the situation and we are really being perceived in that way and the COVID is affecting us, what can we learn from the past? So we want to evolve. What can we learn from the past? What do you think has been the biggest transformation that the industry has suffered in the past? And why do you believe is the biggest one?
For me personally, I think it's the idea of the insights folks felt like they had to be the voice of the truth, and therefore there was a lot of focus put on perfection, like best in class suppliers, being statistically the most accurate. And all of that meant it took a long time, or we were narrow-minded in who we used, who we talked to. And I think by necessity of needing to move with speed, it's moved from what I call slow perfection to fast progress, of like 80-20, getting an answer to be able to make a decision, even if that answer might change, is better than waiting 6 weeks to get the perfect answer. So I think for me, the biggest thing that's going to change is insights folks being more open to using agile tools and to be moving with speed, to helping inform to make a decision versus using the research as the decision. Do you know what I mean? So many times we use the research to help us decide versus our big brains to help us decide.
Yeah, and also, as you said, we look for perfection, and we forget even that in any sample we define there is a marginal error of a 5%, the best case, 10%, most of the cases that is there, and still we go for a very accurate number and not thinking about the rest of the 10% that in any case is going to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
And as you said, and we forget we have a brain. That happened to me once,
Exactly.
and I'm not a modeling expert. I'm not a modeling expert or whatever, but somebody was doing a very complicated model to get the trial, how the sampling was affecting the repeat or something like that in the company. I cannot remember. And then I went there and I did like some big numbers, very big numbers. And I'm the insights person. I'm not the modeling person. And my number was like something like 26%. They invest another 2 days on doing the number, and the number they got at the end with all the models was 24.5 after 2 days. And I did it with this simple stuff, not very
Yeah, just
sophisticated, because as you said, sometimes we focus on the number, and what we should focus is what is the decision that needs to be taken. If the decision is going to be the same if it is 20 and it is 30, then you can play with a range. If it's about physical nuclear or it's about something that is dangerous, then you need to go through six decimals and commas to find the right number. But thank God, not you and me are working on those things. We are just working on making the people happy, as we said. So.
That's so true. I mean, I always say that we make bad decisions off of perfect research all the time. So how about we just work on making better decisions off of, good enough research, and knowing that as we get more information, we can change our mind, versus feeling like once we make a decision, we can't go back from that decision.
Yeah. And that's a very, very valid point. I fully agree with that. And also,
I think that, well, I was just going to say, and this may be taking it in a different place, but I think the other thing that's going to change is, at least what I've seen, is there's a huge focus on foresight right now, because I feel like so many of us have said we could have predicted COVID sooner and could have helped the business prepare sooner than we did. So I know we're massively investing in foresight, and then a lot of my peers that I've been talking to are doing the same. So I'm curious, I know Coke has always had a pretty big focus on cultural insight and foresight, but are you guys doing anything differently now post-COVID?
Not necessarily in foresight, because as you said, we have a lot of elements there. And our belief is that what you really need is to identify when something like COVID happened, which one is going to affect or not. So I believe that thinking that COVID was going to happen is very difficult. We were speaking about that with Martin the other day about modeling, and predicting the future is very difficult. What is very important is to identify when something happens, what's going to be as impactful as COVID,
and
what's going to stay there, and flagging those things. Because with foresight, you can say how you predict another pandemic in 5 years. And if it's 5 years or 4 years, it affects. So it's those kind where you need to be. So it's more saying, okay, how I identify something that is going there, and how I identify if it's going to be a trend, if it's going to be a fashion, if it's going to be a problem. Because the other one, we can't believe we can invent it, but next time it's not going to be a pandemic. Next time it's going to be, I don't know, people coming from Mars to conquer us. I cannot imagine it. So
yes, hope so. Mars the company or Mars the planet?
We can start with the company, and you can send us all the chocolates, and we can be very happy. And then if they want to come, also come from the satellites, it will be okay as well.
No, I agree. I think it's about scenario planning, but I could have predicted in December, January that we needed to ready ourselves for if this did come to the US, right? And we didn't do that. But there's probably hundreds of examples like CBD a trend, or ruby chocolate trend. There's so many things where we see little sprouts of flowers starting to come out of the ground, and we ignore it until it's this huge weed.
I agree. And then just finishing with the COVID, how you really predict it. And then people start looking for, whoever told it 5 years ago, yes, he said that, and a bunch of other things that didn't happen, So sometimes it's very easy from today to say, we should have predicted. Or somebody told it in a set that he did 2 seconds just in Shanghai. But what about the one he did in New York? In New York, he didn't mention it. So, it's very easy from the present to try to make better the past.
That's very true.
But
yeah, that is true.
But how you do it really, and how you are sure that you are not the one generating the panic as well. because we are big companies. So we also have a responsibility. So how do you really manage in a way that you identify which one is a problem or which one you can make it a problem just by how you act on it? Because sometimes also it's how we act on it.
True.
Or how
There's
we
the
don't
other
act
side
on
of it as the opportunity, because it's not always about identifying problems and mitigating risk, but identifying opportunities and helping to steer the ship to a new place, which I think is equally exciting, if not more.
And you are very right. I think in my case, with the pandemic, I'm becoming too much into risks, I guess. And it's difficult to see, sometimes it's difficult to see opportunities. And that's a problem because I think we are focusing on inside and not on outside sometimes. Yeah. Fully agree.
Yes, definitely. Fully agree.
So if we come back to the inside, knowing that COVID has helped us to be at the front of, or to have a seat around the table again, that we have missed it in a way in the last years, and I do agree with that. How do you think we should benefit from this? It's horrible saying benefit from COVID, but which are the opportunities, let's say, which are the opportunities for us taking into account COVID to change the situation where we were, to evolve it?
Yeah, I think for me, this move towards agile and research tech tools has been, I think, a slow burn over the last few years, and COVID has helped accelerated permissibility and acceptance of that. And I think that that's just critical. I mean, in the last 5 years, I don't know if you've seen this famous infographic. 5 years ago, there was 150 MarTech companies, and today there's more than 10,000 and counting. Right. So to ignore that whole space is to cut ourselves off from competitive advantage. But related to that, the one thing I'm super passionate about, and my hope is the death of the PowerPoint. Like the amount of hours that we spend as insights folks creating versions of PowerPoints for different audiences is mind-blowing. And what's great about research tech tools is they often come with automated dashboards or online dashboards where you can just show the results live in a meeting and you never have to make a PowerPoint. So my hope and my plea is that we can find a way to get past PowerPoints and just focus on what is the data saying, what should we do about it.
Agree, and I think it's also our fault, if I have to say that, because sometimes we feel also very comfortable, protected by the PowerPoint. Sometimes when you just, because during the pandemic, I have tried different things like these interviews, or even at the office, preparing like a conversation of 4 minutes every week with somebody from the insights, generating new insights for the company in a very way of speaking, very friendly from your homes. And you cannot imagine how much barriers I got in the beginning, even in my own team, to do it. Say, well, but, and the PPT, how I show the PPT? I say, well, you don't have a PPT. It's yourself. You are the expert on this subject. Tell them in 3 minutes something.
Right. Yeah.
Can I have the PPT on the screen? Okay, you can have the PPT on the screen. Brilliant. But it's only one slide. You have one slide, PPT. Oh, how I explain? With your mouth? And I have really find those kind of people, those kind of barriers, and very smart people, and people that have a lot to say and a lot to give to the company. They really hide themselves behind a PowerPoint.
That's true. Yeah, and some people in my team are very skilled at making PowerPoints, and they are beautiful, and they do tell a great story. But I just think, how many hours did you put into that, right? And where could you have made more of an impact by having conversations or, socializing the information versus making the PowerPoint?
Yeah. I think, as you said, socializing the information is another thing that you have to learn how to do. Because if not, you just focus on the data. If your added value is your understanding of the data and not the storytelling in terms of selling something,
Yeah.
But the storytelling in terms of explaining something, that's where our added value is.
Mm-hmm.
Because
For
anybody
sure.
can put a
Yeah.
presentation with a
So,
number, but the storytelling around that number is ours.
mm-hmm. Agree. And also, how should the company feel about it, and what should they do about it? I feel like that's where we set ourselves apart.
And also we have to be bold. When something is happening that we believe is not right, you have to pick up the phone and saying,
Mm-hmm.
especially now with the COVID, that's a problem for me. We were speaking about good things. One bad thing is that I'm Latin, okay? So I trust a lot on having a coffee at the office. Is where I
Mm,
influence. Just having a coffee, you say the 3 words you should, and then from there the things come back into your inbox
yeah.
normally. Yeah. Now I don't have that. And you
Yes.
cannot phone somebody saying, look, the first time you phone somebody and say, look, I saw those results. I know they are good, but I'm worried. It's like because you don't know the environment, you don't know where they are. So it requires more boldness
Yeah.
in this moment, but also higher responsibility because in this moment, any
Mm,
wrong decision can imply a lot of cases because of already the
mm-hmm.
constraint that we are suffering away from home.
Yeah. And because it has to be more formalized, you can't just have the cup of coffee or the pass somebody by in the hallway. Picking up the phone and calling puts so much more weight on that conversation too, right? There's no such thing as a casual like, "Hey, can we talk about this anymore?" Yeah, I agree that and
Yeah,
also things don't socialize informally, right? Everything is done through meetings, presentations. It's difficult.
and still now, I'm having presentations where you see like you are presenting. The other day, they were organizing something, presenting for 3 hours. I'm like, guys, I cannot stay in front of a computer for 3 hours in a meeting. You have to do shorts of 25 minutes, 3 days, instead of having me 3 hours in the
Yeah,
middle. I'm already gone.
totally.
But still,
Yeah,
we try
I
to
agree.
replicate that even by being at home, and it's impossible.
Right, right. Agree.
So, what do you think? How do you think the future looks like? So, we have learned all these things. We have learned about, being more focused on the storytelling, not just the data, understanding that data come from everywhere, and you can cross correct and work on hypotheses that helps you to go faster. Uh, what do you think? How do you think the future is going to look like for us as a function?
Well, I think there's probably best case, worst case. I mean, worst case would be that we don't shift with the times and things go back to how they were, before, and slowly over time we become internal suppliers to the companies. Best case, we use this momentum to shift how we create value in the business from spending 80% of our time running research to 80% of our time embedding insights and going from co-pilots who react to business questions to consultants who shine the light on the future. So I know for us, we have an internal mantra of going from hindsight to foresight, and from spending 80% of our time looking at past data to explain the present to 80% of our time looking at present data explain the future. So that's my goal for the industry, is that we get much more consultative and much more focus on progress over perfection and focus on the unique impact that we can create, which is being curious, connecting the dots, and helping the company see the direction they should be going.
Agree,
What do you
agree.
think?
I
I'm
think
just
that's
curious what
a
you
key
think.
thing to do. Sorry, for the ones that are not here, sometimes this look like a weird conversation because there is some delay. But I think this one is being better than when we were with Latins, where we were jumping into another a little bit. Uh, so I fully agree with what you are saying. But for me, there is also a role we have to play. Of in the past, it was a lot about working in silos. The companies, the agencies,
Mm,
and kind of protecting our own information. We have
yeah.
a different to have a competitive advantage. Now, I think today, more than ever, we need to continue having these kind of conversations and learning together, because the only way to give that added value is by understanding others' added value and building and connecting on it, instead of just working on silos. As you said, being worried of the data not coming from an agency, but coming from a number you see yourself, working with hypotheses instead of with proven data. All those things require really a good connection, and to use the agencies in the first way. Because I guess when we say we are becoming less, more into agile, some of our best friends in agencies can be a bit worried, saying, look, you don't need us anymore. I don't think that's the point. We need them by what they are, not just by the number they give us. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally agree. And I'm glad you brought that point up, because I do think more than ever, we need to both, you mentioned silos, we need to break the silos of how we work internally with other functions, but also break the silos of how we partner with other peer companies and suppliers. The best thing that's happened for me in the last couple of years with the support of eSmart is connecting with people like you or Barry Jennings from Microsoft, Raphael from Nissan, all these people who work in very different industries from me, but we all have the same challenges, and we're learning from each other on how to solve those challenges. So I feel like going from competition to collaboration is also a huge theme for the next several years.
Yeah, fully agree. And not only for us, I think the brands, but also for the agencies, finding spaces. One of the things that Google does is they share the algorithms. So in this moment, making an algorithm doesn't make any sense, because you can get it from there, and they use us as the one trying them and seeing if they are working or not. But in a way, we keep on keeping things secret, or black boxes that are not allowing the things to grow at the same speed. So for me, one big change is to destroy the black boxes, for the agencies and for everybody, and to try to build instead of kept the information.
Yeah. It's been nice to see so much collaboration across suppliers. I don't know if you've noticed that, but a lot of suppliers are now starting to collaborate with each other to deliver solutions and stop seeing each other as competitors, which I always think is funny, because we use multiple companies to get work done. So this idea that two suppliers can think they're competitors of each other, but we're often using both of them in the business. So
yeah, fully agree. So within this context, what would be your advice for a new joiner to the research industry or the insights industry?
I would say go to conferences. I mean, conferences are the best way to continue to have external understanding of how the world is moving and continue to upskill. My biggest regret is I wish that I had invested in getting like a data science certification, or better understanding the world of data science, AI, NLP, all of that. Like, I waited too long to understand that and to focus on that as the future. So I think go to conferences and continually upskill.
Yeah. I think it's not only advice for the new joiners, it's also advice for me, if you ask me, and I'm an old joiner, so I'm writing it down. It's a very, very wise comment. So thank you for that. When I was speaking with others, and about their nephews, or about the new generations, the children, the nephews, the nieces, and I was sharing with them that I will not recommend research to my children, because I think in that moment that it's a very small industry, and I want them to do something different from their mom. What do you think about your nieces and your nephews? Would you recommend them to follow the aunt career, or what would you recommend them if they ask you?
That's so interesting that you wouldn't recommend it, because I always tell people I have the best job in the world. I get paid to talk to humans about gum and candy and their lives. I mean, so I absolutely would push anyone into it. I think they have to show curiosity, But anyone who has curiosity about life and enjoys using both their right brain and their left brain, this is the best job in the world.
Yeah, it's true what you are saying. It makes me think. So in my case, I think I really enjoy what I do. In fact, my husband still asks me, "Are you sure they're going to pay you the salary this month again based on what you are doing?" I will be very surprised. So yes, I have that kind of feeling that I'm very, very, very lucky. But I guess in my case, because I already see where they go in different places. So I hope they will enjoy as much as me. But I don't think they are like me. So they are not little begonias. They are themselves in a way.
Yeah.
And
right.
So, and also, I guess I'm very introvert, so I don't like to mix things. So this is my own space. So why somebody from my family has to be in my own space? You know, we were speaking about that the other day. So I'm very much into spaces, and I need my own, not being a mom, not being a wife, but just being myself, forgetting about my surname.
Well, it's funny
Brilliant.
because
I think you already
Wait, say that again, Begonia?
You were saying it's funny because?
Because market research as a choice, a career choice, is not something that's very evident. Like, I didn't know that's a thing I could be when I grew up as a kid. And only recently has there been even like a degreed program in market research. So I feel like market researchers find market research because they, can't help but do that for a living. So I feel like there's almost like the secret society. You have to, in order to be a market researcher, you have to find it first.
Yeah, I fully agree. In my case, in fact, I started in marketing. I discovered it.
Yeah, me
Half
too.
of my career has been marketing. Yeah. So that's why I think I agree with that. And that is a taste that you will, when you get it, you don't, it's kind of a drag in a way. So you cannot forget it. Fully agree. So you said that you regret not learning more about data science before. Any other regret? Anything you would have done differently in your career?
That's a good question. I think I would have I wish I had built my external network sooner. I think when I was more junior, I was more focused on just like doing a good job at the company and not understanding the importance of peer relationships. So I wish I had built a peer network faster. But I'm very grateful for the one I have now. What about you? You have any regrets?
I'm surprised. So for me, first, I'm surprised that yours is that, because I think you really are a very open and external focused person. So I'm surprised that the regret is that one. I guess you speed up it very, very fast. In my case, I would have started my international career before. I think I started a bit too late. So even if I'm doing it, I would like to have done it before, because the years I have left are not that much. And there is so many things I want to do and to see that I don't think I'm going to have enough time. So that will be my only regret.
I get that. Well, there could be worse
for
regrets,
being with me.
Begonia, so that.
Yeah, a lot of more worse regrets. I fully agree. So my regret now is that this is coming to an end, and that I know you're going to do a great job. So I'm so happy this is going to happen and it's going to be in your hands. But for me, this has been a light in my day-to-day for the last 2 months. So I'm looking forward to seeing which questions we will be answering tomorrow, and which are the questions that people will have to you on top of mind. And then from there, I will be joining to listen all the learnings, being external focus that you are going to give to this creator and to this Brands Connect. So thank you for joining me today. See you tomorrow in the Q&A, and thank you for joining me in this adventure. I really appreciate it a lot.